discuss about arrays. An array is a very important concept in C and C++ or Java or any language because it is used to process a list of numbers, whether a number of float values or integer values. But it processes numbers but not characters. So an array is a collection of homogeneous data elements. Homogeneous means which are of similar type. Suppose all the list will be of integer values, or the entire list will be of float values, or entire list will be of double values. So homogeneous means same kind, similar type. And it is used to process a list of numbers. So we use arrays when we wish to perform computation on a list of numbers. Suppose I want to save roll numbers of all the students of a class, and there are 60 students in a class, then I need to declare 60 different variables in order to store their roll numbers. But the alternate is to declare them as array, which is of type integer, and then store all the values in them. So here comes the concept of array. So an array can be either one-dimensional or multi-dimensional. Multi-dimensional means either two-dimensional, 3D, 4D and so on. And one-dimensional means a single list, which is the simplest one. And in this lecture we are going to discuss about one-dimensional array. And first of all we need to know how to declare it. So the declaration syntax is, this is data type, this is variable name, and then we need to mention the size of the list. That means how many variables we are going to save in the list. So data type, this is an example. Data type is int, variable name is a, and the size is 5. That means we are going to save 5 variables of type integer, and we can give initial value to these variables. And how to give them? This is as follows. This is initialization. Int a5, this was only declaration, this is initialization. Int a5 is equal to 10, 20, 5, 30 and 15, and we'll give these values in parentheses. We cannot give their values open-ended. We need to mention these values in parentheses. So this variable a contains 5 values of type integer. Now if we talk about the memory representation of these array values, then it is like these are stored in consecutive memory locations. That means one after the other. These are array elements. So the first value is 10, then 20, then 5, then 30 and 15. And their memory addresses are, these are assumed memory addresses of RAM. If the address of first variable is 1001, then the next will be 1003 with the gap of 2, because this is integer data type. Then the variable address of next variable would be 1005 and then 1007, and the last variable will exhibit the address of 1009. So these are stored in consecutive memory locations one after the other. In case of simple variable, it is allocated space in RAM wherever there is a free space, but in case of array, consecutive chunk of blocks is assigned to array. Now subscripts. What are subscripts? See, we have mentioned the size in square bracket, that is 5. So the first, if we wish to access the first value, how to access it? There are subscripts associated with it. We cannot access their value with name a only. So we need to give subscript values. These are a0. That means it is referring to first element, which is 10. Then a1, which is referring to second variable 20. a2 referring to 5. a3 referring to 30. And a4 referring to 15. And you should note that array subscript always starts from 0 but not from 1. And since there are 5 elements, so it will go from 0 to 4 but not from 1 to 5. Okay, this is very important to process arrays. You should remember this subscript concept very carefully. The first element will exhibit A0, then A1, A2, A3 and A4. If I print %d A4, then it will print the value 15. And if I print %d A1, it will print the value 20. So all the array processing works with subscript. So the total elements of this array are 5. Now we are going to understand more about 1D array through a program. Let's design a program for it. This is demonstration of 1D array. This is Dev C++. Here I'm going to write a program for one-dimensional array. First of all, we have included preprocessor directives, here int main, and here I'm going to declare an array int a 5. See, array is declared, and then I'm going to assign a value in parenthesis. You can give any value, 20, 15, 6, 32 and 45. This is how we can initialize the values to an array. Then, since this is an array, so it will be accessed only through a loop. You can also access it. If I wish to print 15, I will write printf /n %d. If I want to print 15, I will write A1. Fine. And then this is return 1 for int main. Printf A1. The answer should be 15. Let's see what happens. Compile and run. Let's save it first. This is 1D array. 15. The value of 15 is printed. You can check from here, value of 15 is printed. Although it is at second place, but it is accessed through A1. If I want to print 20, I will mention over here A0. I will mention over here A0. Now I will execute it again. 20. And if I wish to access 45, here I need to mention A4. Execute, compile and run 45. So this is, the array is processed with subscript. So you need to understand the concept of subscript very carefully in 1D or any dimensional array. Suppose I wish to print the entire list, then I don't need to mention A1, A2, A3 like this. I will use a loop instead, int I, where I will act as a counter variable. I will use for loop, I is equal to 0, I less than 5 and I plus plus. You should understand that I have started or initialized the list from 0 and it is ending up to 4 because it is not less than equal to 4, it is not less than equal to 5, it is less than 5. That means it will go up to 4 because our subscripts of this array are 0 to 4. That's why the loop should also run from 0 to 4. Now how to access it? Printf /n %d, because it's an integer, %d, then we will mention here ai, then semicolon. See it carefully. This is the main concept to print the value of an array. How to do it? For I is equal to 0, I less than 5 and I plus plus. Initially the value of I is 0 and 0 is less than 5. That is true. 0. I will explain over here to make you understand. 0 is less than 5, which is true. Then loop will go inside. Then here it will be put as A0. A0. That means it is referring to the first element, which is 20. So in printf statement, 20 will be printed. Here I am writing the output. Then loop is closing over here, then control will go back. I will become 1 since there is I++. Now this condition will be checked again. 1 is less than 5, which is true. Then here value of I will be put as 1. So it is referring to A1, which is 15. So 15 will be printed. Next time loop will go up, I will become 2. 2 is less than 5, which is true. Here A2 will be assigned. Now A2 is 6. So 6 will be printed. And next time I will become 3. So 3 is less than 5, which is true. Then A3. What is A3? 0, 1, 2, 3, which is 32. So 32 will be printed. And then we'll go up again. Now 4. I will become 4. A4 will be inserted. Then 45. A4 is referring to 45. Then 45 will be printed. Next time I will become 5. So 5 is less than 5, which is invalid, which is false. So the control will not go inside the loop, so it will be terminated. It will not print A5 and there is no element A5 exists. In this manner it will print the elements, all the elements from 20 to 45. So this is the expected output. I had made it a comment. We will erase all the extra code which I wrote you to make you understand. Now we will execute it. Execute, compile and run. See, the entire list is printed. 20, 15, 6, 32 and 45. This is the entire list. In this manner we can print the values of array. Okay. So this is how to take the output. This concept represents the output. What if I wish to take input from the user? For that, what will I do? I will remove this initialization part. I will just declare the array. This is merely declaration of array. Initially it was initialization as well, but here now it is declaration only. Now how to take the input? It will be taken by using scanf statement rather than printf. The same concept will work. We need to write for loop for that, which will run from 0 to 4, and here we will write scanf instead of printf, and here we will write ampersand. You already know the concept of printf and scanf. For taking input we use scanf and we use ampersand AI, and from here we write printf AI without ampersand. Ampersand stands for address of variable. Okay, so this portion is basically for taking the input of a variable, and this portion is for displaying the output. The same concept will be there. Initially A0, I is 0, so A0 will be assigned, then A1, A2, A3 and A4. Then one by one all the values will ask for all the elements will ask for their value. After taking the value, from here output will be displayed. Now let's check. It is asking for the value. I can also give the address over here so that you may understand what is going on. we can give a message over here, printf enter value. Now compile and run. We didn't mention the semicolon, that's why. Compile and run. Enter value, I will give value 10. Again it is asking for second value. I may give 34, 65, 7 and 80. So since array is having 5 elements, so I have inserted 5 values. Now the output will be C, 10, 34, 65, 7 and 80. These are input values and these are the output values. So this is how 1D array works. Now you can process any kind of lists using 1D array of type either integer or float. If you mention here float, then you need to write here %f. This is how 1D array works. I hope you understand the concept thoroughly.